We've got a video review here from this lifter's mock meet. We're going to be focusing on third attempts because those were all made, and that's going to give us the best view of any sort of technical breakdown and weakness analysis. So clearly we're going to be starting out with the squat. From a technical standpoint, that's pretty good. I've got very little complaint with a third attempt that looks like this. From a technical standpoint, I don't see anything that you're doing that really needs to be fixed, as in like you need to change your technique or anything. There are some areas that I would say are room for improvement. So one thing that you do see is that your hips, you have a little bit of the chest fall pattern that I talk about. The knees go back, the hips come up out of proportion with the bar movement. So you get a little bit of that chest fall dynamic. It's not super pronounced, but it is there a little bit. So when you are executing your competition exercise, you want to keep that in mind and continue to work on keeping everything in proportion as you drive out of the hole. Given that, it looks this way on a third attempt, it's not any worse than it is. I doubt that you have much problem with this in your normal working sets, but maybe you do as the RPE gets a bit higher. At any rate, it's something to keep in mind when you're doing your competition exercise. For you, assistance exercises that are going to be useful for you are going to be things like pin squats, high bar squats, and safety bar squats. Things that are going to challenge you to keep that chest up dynamic as you start driving out of the hole. Supplemental exercises that are going to be helpful are going to be things that are quad focused. So leg presses, hack squats, single leg work, stuff like that is going to be ideal for you when you get to the level of supplemental lifts. So that's about all I've got for you for the squat. Let's move on to the bench. Although you have a fairly even bar speed throughout most of your press, it's clear that getting the thing moving from the bottom is probably where you're most deficient. At the very least, improving your strength from the bottom will transfer well for you. So when you're doing your competition benching in training, make sure that you're executing those with good solid pauses. When you get to your assistance exercises, try some things like pause benching, but also try chest level pin presses. Try some shallow incline benching. So think like a 15-degree incline. That's helpful a lot of times as well. But really those longer pauses and chest level pin presses are going to be the most beneficial for you. For your supplemental exercises, you're going to want to look at chest development stuff. So feet up bench, wide grip bench, dumbbell bench, even dips. Those are going to be the kinds of movements that you're going to want to focus on. And as always, let's make sure that we're keeping a good training log here, and you should be able to get a better idea over time which movements are having the best transfer for you. Even like a 3-count pause bench when it comes to your assistance work and so on. But again, technique-wise, I don't have any major complaints for you, anything that I think that you're doing badly. Your setup seems strong. You seem to be tight on the bench. You're arching well within your constraints of mobility, your butt stays down, and so on. So I don't have any real criticisms on your technique. It's just the weakness analysis stuff. So now let's look at your deadlift. So technique-wise here, you're a little bit too much over top of the bar. I'd like to see you put your weight further back onto your heels, as if you're trying to fall backwards a bit. Okay? It's difficult to see your back position, your low back position, from this angle. You look to be fairly flat. There may be a little bit of rounding, but again, it's difficult to see from here, especially with the contrast colors of the singlet. But it doesn't matter a whole lot. Your weak range of motion is near the bottom of the lift, and it's probably going to remain near the bottom of the lift even when you do correct for that technical deviation that I mentioned. So things that you can do, the program's already set up to address that. Things that you can do are low pause deadlifts, deficit deadlifts, even snatch grip deadlifts are helpful. Supplemental movements that help with that. Anything that's posterior chain targeting. So good mornings, straight leg deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, things of that nature. This looks fairly easy for you. It looks like you've got some left in the tank on this one, to be sure. And I think especially once you let me pause the video right here. So once you shift your weight back onto your heels a little bit, you're going to have an opportunity to engage your lats more. So it's taking your shoulders and pulling them down toward your back pockets a bit harder. So if you do that, engage your lats more, and drop your hips down just a touch more while you're pulling your chest up, I think that overall your deadlift is going to be a lot better. You're certainly going to have your body weight working for you more than you are currently, and I think that's going to result in a better overall pull for you. It's certainly going to result in some changes from what you're doing currently, and at that time it would be a good idea for us to reanalyze and see where you're at in terms of technique, technical breakdowns, technical deviations, and we can reassess your weaknesses at that time. Also, just a random question. These plates seem like they may be a bit smaller in diameter than a competition style plate. Is that just an optical illusion on my part, or are these plates actually small? If they are small, it may be something that you want to look into changing in the future. Just some food for thought.